Hi all, this is Simona Rich. I recorded this video outside and it was so good, and unfortunately the audio just stopped recording, so I have to re-record this video, which is unfortunate because now I don't know if you can hear, there is some kind of work going on. Everywhere in the world, building work is taking place, although it's supposed to be the lockdown period and non-essential work is supposed to be not done. So this is so weird. I don't know exactly what they are doing. I'm not sure what they are doing there, but as long as they don't build any towers, I'm happy. So far, I don't see any such building work going on here, so that's good. In this video, I'm going to read out my article on minimalism that was also published in the bigger picture publication of the Medium network. Meditation and life in India changed me. I no longer crave for change, new things, or experiences. I'm happy with what I have. I used to love going shopping with my mom, but the last time we spent time together in England and Portugal, we both realized how different we became. We still loved going for walks together, long walks, but I no longer had the passion of window shopping and buying, which she still retained, and even in my dreams, my mother always takes me shopping. So this is what happened when I started living in India, because I was born in the capital, and when I moved to England, it was also in the city, and that's the way of life, commercialism, consumerism there. But when I moved to India, I realized that life is not supposed to be as such. So I got in touch with nature, and all these unnatural desires fell away from me. It looks for some people that those are their desires, but actually they just inherit them from the culture that they grow up in. Although I miss South India, I've been now in Nepal for around 3 months. The teachings of Nisargadatta Maharaj remind me that this part of India is not external but in me, which gives me much comfort, and I already made 2 videos on his teachings, on the teachings of Nisargadatta Maharaj. So basically he teaches that the world is not, you are not in the world is in you. So everything is in you. All the places of the world are in you, because it's our projection, the projection of the awareness that we are. So this really gives me great comfort, because I do miss that part of India. Now I'm okay. Before I used to miss more, but because now I'm deep into his teachings, I find great comfort in knowing that this part of India is actually in me. Also knowing how heavily militarized India is now, and that locals even attack foreigners out of fear of the overhyped virus, which may be a simple flu or a little bit more aggressive form of it, makes me happy to stay where I am. South India is probably the last desire to transcend, and I also do love the ocean very much. So at the moment, India is heavily militarized. There are so many police officers everywhere. So actually, I'm happy to stay here, because I don't like to see the presence of those slaves of the system. I do not like to see people who are totally controlled by the system. It just makes me sad. So yeah, it's fine that I'm here. I'm sometimes exchanging messages with one person who lives in India. He lives in the political place, kind of where many politicians are, and he's telling that the Prime Minister of India is heavily pushing a New World Order agenda, but nobody understands that, because most Indian people are not familiar with what New World Order is. So he actually uses plainly those words, and they just don't understand. So it's such a shame to see that so many people strongly support the leader who will lead India into the New World Order. So I'm so happy to have experienced India that was still pretty much free, not fully free, but pretty much free. But I think that now, after this lockdown, many of the freedoms of Indian people will be taken away, and they will not even question that, unfortunately. And how nice it is that when foreigners would visit India in the remote past, and there were no rules as such, and India was so much more free, but the freedoms are taken away day by day. Apart from that, I don't have desires. This contentment with how things are embraces my whole life. I have no desire to buy new clothes, none whatsoever. I also don't care how I'm perceived by others, but for the love of my boyfriend, I do change my outfit when I'm in his area. It's because of the people that he knows that he would ask me to wear different clothes. But since he doesn't have any friends here in Nepal, he's fine with me wearing anything. So I wear different clothes in South India so that not to create any friction, but here in Nepal I wear the same things all the time, and I'm very happy with that. Were I to be single, I wouldn't buy anything new. The clothes that I have are fine, and I have a needle and a thread to fix them. If they really wear out, then only would I buy new ones, and there's the feeling of satisfaction to use a thing fully rather than to throw it when it still can be used. And I notice that people who are very, very much into the consumerist lifestyle, they're so miserable, and that's because they're going against the way that the nature lives, against the way that the nature is. So they keep acquiring stuff that they don't need, and they throw stuff that is new, that is hardly used, and they keep buying more and more and more, and they don't use what they already have. So this is totally against the way that the nature is. And of course, since we are part of nature, this is not in harmony with this kind of lifestyle, is not in harmony with us. So we are bound to feel miserable and meaningless. I don't want to promote a wasteful life on my social media account, so I feel happy to wear the same things all the time when I film myself. I also find that if you're happy with yourself, you won't feel the need to always reinvent yourself. Yet, people who don't accept their own selves always feel the need to change something about their appearance. The same minimalism lifestyle applies to my accessories. I have 2 pairs of earrings, which I'm very happy with. They are good quality and are associated with beautiful memories. My flower-like earbuds are from some kind of metal that doesn't rust and doesn't give me pain in ears like cheap metals do. And I bought this pair in my favorite Style Plus store in Trivandrum, the area where I love walking. And in Style Plus you have really good ice cream also, Baskin & Robbins ice cream. I love that place, Style Plus. My silver Ganesha sun sign earrings, which I'm wearing now, were purchased in one of the oldest antique shops in Kochi, which is an island in India. I find that if you always use the same items, they take on your energy and start really matching you. They become almost a part of you. This reminds me of my grandmother, who always used to wear the same pearl earrings and the same watch. She came from non-consumerism times when people valued what they bought. Her watch stopped exactly the minute that she died. That's how part of her the watch has become. When we continue changing accessories and clothes, their energies impact us. When we wear the same things, we change those items with our energy. Not to say that such a lifestyle saves a lot of money. I hold the same view on food. I don't desire to eat anything special and different. We eat pretty much the same thing every day. We make food on a travel cooker, and sometimes my boyfriend makes some Indian dish, and sometimes I make something Indian or European. So we usually have something Indian. In the morning, I make breakfast that is European, some kind of like omelette with croissant, with toasted croissant, and he drinks milk coffee, and then we eat something Indian after that, like fried rice or curry. He likes onion curry. I like tomato curry. Sometimes we have chicken, so we buy like masala powder and make really nice chicken on a small travel cooker, chicken curry. I usually make dry chicken curry, and he likes normal chicken curry. Eating healthy homemade food every day became a habit, and I no longer want to go to any restaurants. Why to ruin the stomach with elaborate foods with chemical additives to enhance their taste, and also the food that has cheaper quality ingredients than you can when you can make something at home that is healthy and from good ingredients. The same applies to the place of living. I already found my favorite place to live in South India. I call it my home, and I would never leave it if I could. But due to the evil system we live in, we can't decide where to live. So because of this, I'm forced to buy visas and to fly with airplanes, which I'd rather not, which contribute to the pollution of this world. And it's so strange, those rules, the visas, they're just so evil because, for example, I have 5-year visa in India, but every 3 months I'm required to leave. And for example, if I use bus to cross the border, they would start asking questions. They kind of encourage you to always use airplanes every 3 months, and it contributes to the pollution of the world. But what can I do? I love that place. I want to stay in that place, but because of the system, I'm forced to use airplanes and to keep extending my visas, to keep leaving the country and coming back. And it's horrible. The system is horrible. Why aren't we allowed to live where we want? It's not humans that created all these borders. It's the reptilians that wanted to put us against each other, to separate us by countries, religions, races, and so forth. It's not in our true nature, to be so separative. Why can't we live where we want? Some people feel great in cold climates. Some people feel great in hot climates. I'm also happy to live in a room with an attached bathroom. I could happily live this way all my life. I really love simplicity. This room that I'm in is perfect for me as long as there's nature outside to enjoy, and I find that shelter is necessary only to protect one from harsh weather and for one to sleep in at night. How wasteful it is for millionaires and billionaires to hoard money, buy palaces or even islands that they hardly use, when so many others don't even have a roof over their heads. This excess of money creates imbalance, and those who have excess cannot be happy because they live against the way that the nature does. There is no waste in nature. It uses and reuses and uses up everything, even plastic. Eventually, even this toxic waste deteriorates into particles which become the earth, the fertilizer of plants. If we act in a similar way to nature, we will feel our lives much more meaningful. We don't have to buy new things as soon as something goes wrong with old ones. We can buy a quality item, and then if something goes wrong with it, we can fix it. And when people are born in developed countries, especially in cities, they feel from the very birth miserable, but they don't know why. And that's because they're totally cut off from nature. Their habits, their lifestyle is totally artificial, and this makes them feel purposeless. They feel lost, they feel unhappy, they feel disillusioned, and they don't know why. That's because they are acting different to how nature does, and they are separated from nature. Consumerism lifestyle of always changing things for new ones carries over into human relationships. People no longer fix broken marriages and relationships, but seek new ones. This ends up producing more unhappiness and less meaning in life. It's such a habit of Western culture to always run for new relationships when something wrong goes with the old ones, but people are broken in some ways. People are imperfect. So eventually, even if you find some new person, eventually things will come up and you will have to deal with that. Will you run away also? So in the Western culture, it's so usual to just run away from problems. But relationships, if they overcome difficulties, they get to the next stage, and there is in using up fully one thing and only then buying another, there is, or like using the thing, and then when it breaks, fixing it, there's kind of like satisfaction. So when you do the same with relationships, you make the most of it, and only, if another person totally doesn't want to cooperate, of course, then what can you do? But both should attempt to fix the relationship, and then it will get to the new level. It will mature. There is no need to run away from problems. They are bound to arise because we are imperfect beings. We all have issues to deal with. If we live the nature's way, we would need very little to survive. We wouldn't need to slave 5 days a week in some office. Instead, we could build small businesses based on what we love and do with our days as we please. Again, it's because of this consumerism culture that people have to slave all their lives for things. So they are reduced to such small, insignificant beings because their whole purpose in life is to slave to be able to buy some things. How sad that is. We should only earn enough to survive, to have food and shelter. And the shelter doesn't have to be great. It can be just simple, like I'm in a very simple room and I love it. It's beautiful here. Outside is nature. And if we would all live in natural places, in small shelters, we would really need very little to survive. So that means that we could actually create some business, something out of our creativity, and earn enough money to live on, and then we will have plenty of time to do with our time what we like. So our lives would be so much more meaningful than slaving in office all day. But the consumerist culture cannot be rooted out only through information as such. People need to stop following the trends of the system and tune into their own selves, as well as stay in nature. Then they will recognize natural rhythms of their own selves and of the world, and will gradually revert to the wholesome way of living. So that's the article for today. I hope that you enjoyed it. Do leave a comment below. Thank you for watching. Take care.